Yeah, I know, I'm a VTuber with an unconventional design, just deal with it. It's because I'm Uggo Fuggo IRL, really is for your protection, just trust me on this. I'm not sure you could tell based upon my literal entire appearance, but I'm a huge metalhead. Oh, you could? Damn, what gave it away? Was it the fact that I borrowed my color scheme from a Cannibal Corpse album artwork? Ah shit, that's probably it. But yeah, metal! I be out here cranking up some System of a Down, Bolt Thrower, Whitechapel, Opeth, Infant Annihilator, Korn, Lorna Shore, all those guys. Some people who were unfortunate enough to stumble upon my video may be familiar with the Sennheiser HD600, a legendary headphone known for its very good sound reproduction. It's a staple headphone in studios and among audiophiles everywhere that's existed since 1997. When these dropped, they were mind-blowing how good they were, and they're still amazing today. The engineering of the HD600 and the HD800 was spearheaded by this guy, Axel Grell. This dude is a legend in the audiophile hobby. So when I found out about a Kickstarter for another headphone that he was involved in making that's tuned specifically for listening to metal music, my curiosity peaked. I was like, ooh, that sounds cool. Introducing the Heavyz H1H. Recently, a member of my community actually lent me his pair to try out and make a review of, which this viewer knows exactly who they are, and I want to thank them personally. Thank you very much, this was very cool. These headphones boast a pretty unique driver setup that I've personally not seen before in a headphone, so I'm curious to hear what the benefits are. It's really common for IEMs, or in-ear monitors, to have multiple driver setups inside of them, but not so much in the headphone space. These headphones have 8 total drivers in them, so 4 in each ear cup. See, I can do math. 2 larger drivers that act as subwoofers, and 2 tweeters for high-end frequencies. So what I want to find out is, does this unique driver setup help improve the sound quality and give it an edge over other Bluetooth headphones, or is this just a marketing gimmick? And is the Heavyz H1H the perfect headphone for metalheads? Well, let's find out, motherfuckers. Build quality. Overall, the build quality is pretty good. It's primarily made of plastic, but it's pretty tanky. Truth be told, these haven't really been on the market very long, so I can't speak about their longevity, but they do feel pretty solid. It's very bulky, and they actually feel quite heavy. So not just heavy in the name, but in build construction as well. Unlike some other Bluetooth headphones, they lack the ability to lay flat, but they can at least fold up to take up less space, so that's nice. But yes, structurally, they're built well with no parts feeling loose at all, and they're pretty fucking tanky, which gives me some confidence. Another thing that's cool about these is you can replace the outer shells for ones that have these cool designs on them. While I know this isn't something audiophiles are gonna care about, I think it's actually super neat that you can do this. It adds a layer of customization to it. If I buy these myself, I'm totally gonna get some alternate shells. These headphones have physical buttons and switches, and get this, a volume knob kinda like what you get on the Apple AirPods Max, which I think is super cool. The buttons and switches feel really nice. They have this kinda tactile feel to them that provides really good feedback, and they don't feel cheap. I, for one, hate touch controls on headphones and earbuds. I tolerate them on my Samsung Galaxy Buds because I love how those sound, but every time I go to adjust them and I accidentally pause the song or hit go back, it makes me want to do a fucking backflip off the nearest suspension bridge before plunging to my death. So, to have physical buttons that feel nice, it's like, yeah, baby, I'm eating good. These also sync up very simply, and it didn't pose any connectivity issues when I tried pairing them to my Android phone, so good. The active noise canceling on these, Hell Blocker mode. Hell Blocker mode on this headphone is pretty good. In my experience, it's pretty good at not just blocking out low-end frequencies, but high-end frequencies as well. I kind of expect ANC to be pretty good on these. You know, this technology has progressed really far, and most Bluetooth headphones on the market nowadays have ANC now that's, at least halfway decent across the board. So, these weren't disappointing at all. More so, the passive noise isolation on this headphone is also quite good, which is also going to help to just cut out noise in general. So if you're looking for something that can give you some peace and quiet when you're out on the go, these will satisfy. Battery life is very good. I've had these for about 2 weeks now, and I haven't had to charge them once, and I've listened to them quite a bit. They boast 50 hours of playtime with ANC off, and 40 hours with it turned on. Oh, did I say ANC? I'm sorry, I forgot. It's called Hell Blocker blocker mode, which is better than both the Sony XM5s and the Apple AirPods Max. You can also plug these into a PC or Mac via USB-C connection and listen to them over the USB-C, so that's a feature that I really like. Also, the volume knob. Let's talk about it really quick. These things are fucking loud. I don't know what kind of amplification these things have, but to give you an idea, these can easily give you hearing damage. But like, not just your average everyday hearing damage, okay? I'm talking like advanced stage hearing damage, which I'm sure many metalheads, you know, at least the ones who aren't deaf yet, just heard me say and went, hell yeah, brother, that's my shit right there. So to give you an idea, these go on like a scale from 0 to 100 on volume, and at like 36, these were uncomfortable to listen to for me personally. But you know, metalheads are always going to concerts where the decibels regularly hit 125, and for reference, 85 decibels is enough to cause hearing loss, and hearing loss is permanent, by the way, so, you know, they probably do need that extra volume. One thing that's worth mentioning, these do not have a companion app at the time of this recording, so you can't really EQ them, though according to their website, an app is currently in development, so yay! I meant to sound more enthusiastic there, let me try that again. Yay! Also, there's a case! Good. Original backers of the Kickstarter got this neat certificate, but the viewer who lent me this for the review wasn't one of those backers, and he still got one, which I thought was really neat. I like stuff like this, because it really shows the care that went into making the headphone, and I don't know, I'm a sucker for this kind of thing. I like it. Last thing I want to mention before we move on, I love the voice on these. They really want to drive home that these headphones are for listening to metal music, so they got this low demonic voice to tell you what features are activated. You turn them on, and it goes, power on, connected. You activate the ANC on these and it goes, hell blocker mode, activated. It's awesome, and yes, that's what it's really called. It's not called ANC, it's called hell blocker mode. I want to stress this again. It's not ANC, it's hell blocker mode. Comfort. I think these are reasonably comfortable, but there's more comfortable Bluetooth headphones on the market. These are bulky and they're noticeably heavy to wear. It's not terrible though, because the weight is evenly distributed, but I think these are more suited for just going out and walking around, and I certainly wouldn't use these at the gym. The ear cups have adequate padding, but I do think there needs to be more padding on the headband. After a couple hours of using them, I can kind of feel them start to dig into the top of my skull, and it sort of got me worried that if I use them for too long, I'm gonna end up with like a Tyler 1 headphone dent in my head. They also have significant clamp force, which I don't think is gonna be a problem for everyone, but others may take issue with it. They squeeze about the same amount as like a Sennheiser HD6XX that's right out of the box, but just they're heavier. Overall, the comfort is pretty good, but there is room for improvement. Also, please don't let me end up with Tyler 1 head, please no. Sound quality. Now here's the big question. Is the sound quality of the Heavyz H1H well suited for listening to metal? So I couldn't find a graph for these from a source that I personally trust, and I don't have my own measurement rig, so for this portion of the review, it's gonna be entirely subjective since I don't have the hard measurements. To my ear, overall, these sound V-shaped, which I kind of expected. Most Bluetooth headphones aimed towards everyday consumers go for this kind of tuning, which isn't always a bad thing. But I'm saying this right now, if you like neutral tuning, you will not like these. The bass on these is totally going to be enough to satisfy bass heads. There's a lot of bass, and it hits hard. There's a lot of punch and slam and low-end rumble, though for the most part, it's reasonably well controlled. It can be a bit boomy sometimes, but it usually doesn't tend to bleed into the mids too much, but it can sometimes, though it does so more on some tracks more than others. But I have to admit, in those sections of metal songs where the fast double kick drum are coming in sounding like a machine gun, those parts were super hyped, and I probably turned up the volume more than it was safe to. Double kick drum just kind of makes my brain go unga bunga, and on headphones with bass like this, when the double kick drum comes in, it's like, yeah! Slaughter to Prevail has a song called 666, and the double kick drum on that song when it comes in is just brain-melting levels of fun. You know, I like to play a game sometimes called Can I Hear Jason, where I listen to Metallica's And Justice for All album, and I rotate between a few different pairs of headphones, and I try to listen out for Jason Newsted's bass part, who, if you don't know, was famously turned down on that mix to the point of being inaudible a lot of the time. So I swap between a few different pairs of cans to find out on which set is he the most audible, and the Heavyz are definitely leading on this game right now, let me tell you. Try it with your headphones, it's fun! And also disappointing. I don't know who the fuck needs to hear this, but whoever you are, if you are a recording engineer, do not let Lars into the booth. Don't let him in, don't let him in. This man has no business mixing. He doesn't have any business, don't let him in! So I have to concede that I do really like the bass on this, and anything that has low bass is gonna be a fun time. Not just metal, but EDM, hip-hop, trap music, and any song or piece of music that has huge orchestral bass drums are all gonna be good choices for this headphone. I reviewed the Audio-Technica M50Xs in the past, and those are an example of a headphone where the bass is just way too much, and it bleeds into the mids, and it masks some of those lead instruments or makes them feel very far away. But the bass on the Heavyz H1H, compared to the M50X, more often than not manages to avoid that issue while still being very rumbly and impactful. Mids are pretty good as a whole. I don't feel too much like any of the main instruments of the band are being covered up at all. Guitars, drums, piano, vocals all come through well, which is good because guitar is like one of the most important elements in a metal band. And if I couldn't hear it well, then these would suck for listening to metal. But fortunately, guitar comes through very nicely and has good sounding timbre. But it's in the vocal region where I hit the first troublesome area in the tuning for me. Vocals in some lead instruments can come across as noticeably shouty sometimes. I personally don't really like this aspect of the tuning, and others are gonna take issue with it too. That shouty sound quality is a bit of a detriment to the tuning, and because you can't EQ these, if you do buy these, you're just gonna have to tolerate it until we can get that companion app. But yeah, I'm not really digging the amount of shout on these. Next, the treble. It's pretty bright. Some listeners, again, most likely metalheads, are gonna find that cymbals are gonna sound very sparkly and lively. Though, people who are more treble sensitive are gonna find them fatiguing and possibly harsh. They're not quite bare dynamic levels of bright, but it is kind of approaching that territory, and for some, that's just gonna be way too much. Personally, I like this kind of sound signature. To my ears, it sounds energetic and fun, but I also did find it fatiguing after listening for a decent while. After listening for probably 2 hours, I had to take them off and go listen to something that has a more chilled out sound signature. I can see why this amount of treble is good for metalheads, because again, some of y'all have actual hearing damage. So, on to the non-frequency response related stuff. I want to talk about instrument separation right away because this is where I can clearly see the benefit of having multiple drivers in a headphone. The instrument separation is a lot better than I expected. The layering on the Heavyz is much better compared to a lot of other Bluetooth headphones, perhaps some of the best I've heard on a Bluetooth headphone. I'm not gonna come out and say that it's better than something like an HD6XX because, you know, that would just be madness and not true. But, you know, I suspect, even though I can't really prove, that having multiple drivers that fulfill different functions is what's preventing the bass on these from coming across as too muddy. So naturally, I didn't expect a pair of Bluetooth headphones to have a whole lot of detail. There's just a lot of information that can get lost over a Bluetooth signal, but the detail and information retrieval on these is okay. It's above average, which is more than I was expecting them to have. I'd say that, you know, while it's not great, it is slightly better than most Bluetooth headphones. All in all, I don't think it's exceptional, but that's okay, because that just tends to be the nature of Bluetooth headphones. Resolution on these is also just above average. They don't really feel all that fast. It really is nothing I can complain about, but, you know, I have wired headphones that are considerably cheaper and resolve much better. These are closed backs, and they really don't have any kind of soundstage. The music sounds like it's very close, and even sounds like it's coming from inside your head at times. Nothing really surprising there, it's just kinda how closed backs be doing. Imaging on these is also just okay. I get a little bit of forward and back, and I get a little bit of up and down imaging, but it's nothing amazing. It's about in line with most other Bluetooth headphones, so again, I don't really mind. There's just certain things that get sacrificed for convenience when it comes to headphones like this, and typically, it's the more subjective aspects of a headphone sound, and I'm totally cool with that. Most people are going to be using these to listen to Spotify or Apple Music anyway, so a lot of those small details are just going to end up getting lost. I think the tuning is more important than the subjective stuff when it comes to a Bluetooth headphone, in my opinion. And, you know, aside from a couple of problem spots, I think the tuning is fun, and I enjoy it. I tried to manage my expectations when it came to its technicalities, and for the most part, it was about expected, with the notable exception being its actually pretty good instrument separation. Do I recommend it? Its tuning isn't gonna be for everyone, but for the most part, I do enjoy how this headphone sounds. I know it seems like I was really critical in this review, but you gotta understand, I'm a reviewer, and it's my job to criticize things and find faults. So even if it seems like I was harsh on this, just know that I do like it. It's not common practice for headphones to have multiple driver setups, but you know, in the IEM space, it's a very common practice. However, more drivers doesn't necessarily mean more better. There are companies in the IEM world that act like having multiple drivers in their IEM magically makes them so much better, and they advertise that fact that they have like fucking 8 drivers in it to appeal to consumers who don't know any better. Pacey. But in this case, I do think the Heavyz H1H benefit from it. Currently, you can get the Heavyz H1H for about $280 US, which puts it in line with some other flagship Bluetooth headphones that are on the market right now. I don't think that its price point is really all that competitive, but I do think that it's worth the money and is worth considering over some other Bluetooth headphones. As for whether or not I think it's the best headphone for listening to metal music with, ultimately that's going to be up to listener preference, but in my personal opinion, metal is a genre that it excels at. But hey, you know, I really enjoy V-shapes. Hellblocker mode, it's fucking awesome. But in the end, yes, I do recommend them if you're in the market for a Bluetooth headphone. However, maybe don't take these to the gym. It's too bad that Apple earbuds are better though.